Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Four Guys Roundtable Show featuring these four guys: Coach Jeremy, Coach Pat, AJ, and myself. We are here on another lovely evening talking about nothing for nothing, about nothing, against nothing, the world about nothing. So tonight we will be talking about a list of female wrestlers, where we rank the female wrestlers in today's industry from 1970. How you like that? No, I was only joking. Not 1970, because that would be only Pat's, list, and us three would have I don't know, nothing. But
I don't even think there was enough female wrestlers in 1970 to make a list.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I don't.
Jim Cornette would probably have a list from back then too.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of prominent female wrestlers back in the 50s when you had Mildred Burke and June Byers and some others.
Here we go.
I'm just saying, some of those names who were in the WWE Legacy Hall of Fame, but 70s, I don't know.
Should have said 50s and or should have said before 70s. I don't know. That probably would have worked better.
I would say 70s, yeah. So.
Ooh, I'm shaking my whole desk. Oh, Jesus God, what am I doing over here? My binder's here in my laptop and everything's shaking like an earthquake.
Shake them up, shake them.
Yes, we were talking about female wrestlers, and AJ has a list of 15 wrestlers you have in your list.
I'm gonna make sure I point out that this is based on their wrestling ability and that kind of stuff, not whether they're attractive or unattractive or some of the other qualities that other people on here wanted to rank them by. So
can I add bonus points, or am I not allowed to add bonus points?
Darth Pat was using some very inappropriate language to how he wanted to rank them. I definitely disagree with his point of view. Despicable, misogynistic stuff.
Oh, they threw you under the bus, Pat. I'm sorry.
Gotta show some class and dignity on the show now, damn it.
I'll just take a nap while you guys talk about this.
We're not gonna be Donald Trumping them and grab them by the pussy, all right? None of that shit going on here.
Oh God.
It's a bad way to think about them, Pat.
Wow, Pat, I really don't know how this turned into you.
Something to bludgeon myself with.
We no way condone the comments that Donald Trump has ever made about any woman at any point in time. Keep that disclaimer out there.
Oh my God. All right, AJ. Let's start with your list. Let's rock and roll and see where we
start
go.
Start with 15 first. Give us number
15.
Yeah, let's go for 15 on that.
I'm a mark, so I moved somebody up from the list I saw a couple of days ago, and I put Shayna Baszler number 15.
Okay, so Shayna Baszler.
She's my favorite, one of my favorites. I don't necessarily think she's going to make it, but I figured 15, whatever.
Okay.
At 14, I have Paige.
Okay.
13, I have AJ Lee.
Okay. I'm surprised by that one. Okay.
Number 12, Joe's going to love number 12, Gail Kim.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
She needs to be on that.
She doesn't get a lot of love from WWE, but that doesn't matter to me.
No, because she pretty much told WWE to go fucking stuff it.
Number 11, I have Beth Phoenix. 10, Mickie James. 9, Alexa Bliss. 8, Becky Lynch.
Now that one just surprised the hell out of me. I was not expecting you to have Becky Lynch on your.
I'm not going to pretend that she's not. I don't like her, but that doesn't mean she hasn't done stuff.
Okay.
I think she should be on the list. I just have her where I think she should be because I have Asuka 7.
Okay.
Lita 6. Bailey 5. China 4.
Okay.
Trish 3.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha 2 and Charlotte 1.
Could you do me a favor? Because I was actually, my thing wasn't working on my computer.
Okay.
Can you go 10 to 15 after? Yeah. So I have Alexa, then everyone below her.
Becky.
No, below.
Oh,
below.
Okay.
Opposite
Mickey
direction.
James was 10. Beth Phoenix. Gail Kim. AJ. Paige and Shayna Baszler.
Okay. So since you were the only one that made a list. So something that I want to ask you about the list. I know you went on Wrestling Ability. Did you?
No, I went on everything. Like this is putting all of it together.
So Wrestling Ability, mic skills, impact on wrestling itself as far as from the female standpoint.
Look entrance.
Okay.
And intangibles would be the other kind of category. So.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. So let's start with 15. Shayna Baszler.
Like I said, I'm a mark for her, so I don't know if she's probably a couple years away from, because I don't know if what they're gonna do with her on the main roster. She was a beast in NXT, so she definitely had a great NXT career. So I don't know what her singles career is going to be like. She's obviously won the tag belts a couple times. But this was that spot where I just was like, I'm going to put somebody here that I like. I don't necessarily expect everybody to agree with that one. That was me being a mark there.
Yeah. And I definitely have to say that for 15, I don't think it's a bad spot for her, but I feel like there's somebody else that we could put there that's definitely had an impact on the game, on the women's wrestling. As
she was 17 I believe 17 or 18 on the WWE list, so she was a little bit lower there. I think the three people that were around there, I just took her. So,
So I'm gonna let either Darth, Pat, or Joe weigh in on this, and then I'll maybe throw one out myself. So Darth, Pat, or Joe?
You want to go, Pat, or you want me to go?
Well, I don't have a full list, so
I'll go.
Yeah, if you want to go, yeah.
I would probably replace Shayna with Natalya.
I'm not, like I said, this one I'm not. I just put her in there for my own personal benefit. I figured that she wouldn't end on the list. I don't care. So I just wanted to.
That's fine. I don't have an issue with Shayna. I like Shayna. But I would probably put.
Yeah, that's fine. Natalya
for
probably
me,
could.
Me, it would be Natalya.
She could go in that spot.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like almost like a toss up between the two, because they both kind of had essentially the same impact, so to say. It's just Natalya's been around a lot longer, so she's had a lot longer career and been able to contribute to talent development as a senior wrestler.
That's my kind of thing. So like she's solid in the ring.
Yeah,
her promos are okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
She hasn't gotten like a lot of push that I think she deserved from time to time.
They haven't found a character for her.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing too is like she does a lot in the back for all those other girls too.
Yeah,
she helps train them.
She's the person that I probably could have put there. So it's like I said, it's that one was a whatever.
Each their own. No worries.
Natalya's fine being in that spot with me. I'm okay with putting Natalya there anyway. So
yeah. Darth, Pat, any comments? Yay, nay, disagree?
It was actually a little harder than I thought, because when AJ was naming some of his people, and then I finally pulled up WWE's list of the 50 that they recently did. There were some names that I was like, oh, they're definitely in my top 15 who AJ did not mention, and now I'm saying to myself, well, shit, are they actually in my top 15? So it was actually, not maybe quite as easy to limit it to 15 as you might have thought. So, just some other names just to kind of throw out there that I think you could make arguments for.
Okay.
Some of them were like late 90s ones, like Jacqueline, Ivory, Luna, Molly Holly, Melina. Those are just some other ones that I was thinking maybe could be on the list, but I don't know who I would necessarily start bumping out. I wouldn't have Shane in my top 15 yet, because she got to win a singles title on the main roster first, I think. Nothing against her. I think she's good in the ring. I don't think she's got a lot of personality. But
she's got more personality now than she did in NXT. She had zero personality in NXT, so they're trying. So they're trying.
Yeah, you got she's her was bad.
She's actually made Nia Jax better. So like she gets a lot of credit from me because I think she's made Nia Jax more bearable. So
yeah, those two together have been good.
All right.
Yeah.
Natalia's good though, guys. I like Natalya. I could have put her there. She's good. She deserves to be on this list in my opinion. So,
I mean, the only one other ones I can think of that maybe I would if I had actually come up with a list of 15 of my own that I maybe would have bumped out. Paige, AJ, Alexa, maybe. But I like them too. So, so it would have been really tough to do that. Probably would have had Becky a couple spots higher. Probably would have had China a couple spots lower because I actually don't think China was actually that good of a wrestler. I really don't think she was that good of a worker, to be honest. I would definitely have Trish number 1 and Charlotte number 2.
Yeah, I don't. Charlotte's already the best women's wrestler I've ever seen. She's already number 1. So she's done things that Trish never did already. So
the problem with Charlotte is I've already gotten sick of her on multiple occasions. Never really remember feeling that with Trish.
And I felt that way with Trish for sure. So
it's been a while though, so I may haven't. Don't remember, but there have been a couple times where I've gotten sick of Charlotte, and it's more also the way that they book the women's wrestlers right now in the sense that, and this is kind of been proven by an article I was just reading this morning that was talking about how Sasha's the only horsewoman who has a match booked at WrestleMania, and they said obviously there's extenuating circumstances with Becky and Charlotte there for right now.
Right.
But they mentioned, of course, how Bayley doesn't have the match booked.
Got the snub.
And they just basically said how it's like they don't seem to be able to know how to book the women unless there's a title involved. They haven't been able to get past that hump for the women. So it's like unless it's involving the Raw Women's title, the SmackDown Women's title, or the Women's Tag Team titles, if you're on the main roster, if you're not like actively involved in a feud for one of those belts, you're probably not being used a lot. And that's unfortunate because it's because of stuff like that really makes it feel like when they go do the Royal Rumble, then it really makes you kind of go like, wow, do they really have 30 women for this match? So,
and they do. It's crazy. They had a lot of women in the WWE right now.
They do, but they don't, because it's like they're using somebody from NXT or they're bringing back a couple of, legends, however you want to define, like, some of the older women to come back. And I don't mean older in the sense of older in that way, but, once who aren't on the main roster anymore and everything and stuff like that. So it just goes to show that there's no women's mid card. And
not really.
You obviously you can make an argument that there shouldn't be because they're not the ones who are moving the tickets or this, that. But I mean, we're kind of not in a ticket moving spot.
But they should be. They got a 3-hour show on Raw to be able to fill time with, and they can fill it with a good woman, another good women's match that is like a mid card, but match that would make sense.
They just choose not to.
They just choose not to.
I just feel like there's got it. I mean, they were kind of getting to it there with Charlotte and Lacey. As much as I don't like Lacey, they were kind of getting to where there was actually a feud that did not involve a title. I mean, obviously, it's because of Ric Flair, though, too. But at least it was something that wasn't really directly involving a title between the two of them. But then Lacey got pregnant, so there goes that story. So, yeah.
I don't always like Charlotte either. She gets annoying to me at times. I don't think she's good as a face. She's way better as a heel. But I can't not acknowledge how good she is at what she does. That's the problem. That's what it comes down to with her. She's the best I've seen. And I wanted to put Sasha higher because I like Sasha better. But I think Charlotte overall is better than Sasha. So, I mean, it wasn't my personal – I wasn't going with my heart on that one. I was going with who I've seen, who I think is probably the best women's wrestler I've seen. Trish was a valet who turned into a wrestler, and she did a really good job of doing that. But Charlotte wasn't even going to wrestle until her brother died. So it's crazy where she went from to where she is now, and it's not like it was 15 years. So she obviously has that natural athletic ability, but it's pretty impressive what she's done in not a really long period of time. And it's hard to just not. Yeah, I don't always like seeing her do the moonsault out of the ring. She does things that get predictable to me and stuff, but I can't. And if you go find lists of like the best women's matches of all time, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley are in 2 or 3 on the list, and you just can't pretend that those people, they're not putting on great matches, because that's what those 3 do pretty much every time they wrestle. So unfortunately, Trish and Lita got stuck in an era where there wasn't a lot of people that they could have 5-star matches with, so that probably hurt Trish a little bit, and Lita. But I'm not going to not say that Sasha and Bayley at TakeOver that's the best women's match I've ever seen. Sasha and Bayley in Hell in a Cell was probably one of the 3 best women's matches I've ever seen. So you can't – the evolution of women happened, and it was a good thing that it happened, and the 4 horsewomen are right in the middle of it. Becky never won the NXT women's title to me, and that's you can't not pretend that didn't happen either. She never won it because she wasn't as good in NXT as she was on the main roster. So that's why I put her lower than Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka, because they all won the NXT women's title, and Becky did not.
Yeah. All right, so let's get back to our list. And Joe, if you have any like people from TNA or AEW or even AJ for that fact,
there's nobody from AEW yet.
Or if and Joe, I know you know a little bit more of the foreign wrestlers from like New Japan and stuff like that. So if you got any that I think belong in the list above, the top 15 that we're putting in here, just let us put them in there so we can, have a good list. Because I don't want it to just be WWE. I mean, if it is, it is. But I'd like to see if we get any diversity in here.
That's why I said Gail Kim, because I know Gail Kim doesn't get a lot of love from the WWE people, and she was fantastic at what she did. So
Paige. Now, for me, Paige should be a little bit higher because of one distinguishing factor, and that's what she did as essentially spearheading. And I don't think a lot of people give her credit for this. She really spearheaded what is now the women's division, because she still came in when it was a Divas division and all that pretty ass bullshit, and she did not fit the mold of that era. And she was an actual wrestler. Like, she really could wrestle. And she had to wrestle against people besides Natalya, who was there at that time, that were not actually wrestlers per se. They were more like, I'm pretty and I can pull hair and slap, and they had to learn how to wrestle so that they could actually be in the ring and not get themselves hurt by somebody that knows how to wrestle. So I think she should at least be bumped up to maybe 12 or 11, in my opinion.
I mean, you can move. I don't think you can move AJ below her, because AJ Lee was better on the mic than Paige was, and AJ Lee is another person that contributed to kind of turning the tide with the pretties. Like, AJ didn't like the Bellas and some of them. So like Paige and AJ both kind of contributed to that, and I think AJ was better on the mic than Paige was. So
I agree with that.
So if you can move somebody like Beth Phoenix down, I don't really care. I just wanted to make sure she was on the list. I'm not a huge Beth Phoenix person either. I just was trying to put people on the list somewhere so their names would come up in discussion. So,
and I would say Beth Phoenix to 14.
I mean, you can move Gail Kim down even if you want to, but I just, it's hard because I think she was really good in the ring too. So
Gail Kim to 13 and move Paige and AJ to 12 and 11.
12 and 11.
That's just my opinion. I don't know. Get the consensus of the rest of you.
I mean, that's fine with me. Like I said, all those spots in that 10 to 15 were kind of interchangeable to me. There was not anything set in stone to me on that part of the list. So,
Joe, Darth Pat, any comments?
Yeah.
So we're moving. You said we're going to move Beth Phoenix to 14.
I just remembered one other name, but I mean that's
Okay, what's the name?
Medusa.
See,
I
said 1994 to present because I was kind of trying to leave her out of this because otherwise, that's why she was a Lunder Blaze, and like to me, I was trying to leave her out of this.
That's the thing. It kind of straddles the line.
Yes, right.
She had parts of her career before and after, so
right. I was trying to leave her off of this list because she probably would have been in my top 6 or 7 if she would have been on my list because I have a lot of respect for her. I think she did a lot when women's wrestling really was shitty. I think she was the person that got stuck dealing with crap a lot. So I like her, and I thought she was really good. So I was just trying to keep her out of this. That's why I picked a year where it was kind of straddling, where we wouldn't necessarily have to put her on the list. So... because I guess we all kind of know more about her. Not everybody knows a lot about her sometimes. So,
well, yeah. As I look
because
at this,
her WCW career was like because they really didn't have a women's division, so she kind of felt left out in a time frame where she shouldn't have been.
Yeah. So here's the question I have: if we put Alundra Blaze in because she kind of was on both, if we say that. I almost feel like we could take Asuka off the list. Like, I feel like we could take her off the list. And my only reason is because, yes, she is a hell of a wrestler, but I don't feel like her impact on the wrestling business has been very great, and she's not good on the mic.
She's not good on the mic, but she's a Grand Slam champion, so she's won all the belts, and it's just hard to argue with that. And she had the longest NXT women's title reign of all time. She was undefeated for like almost 2 years. I don't like Asuka either, Jeremy. I don't like her. I'm not a fan. But
so when you say Grand Champ, you're talking she's won the NXT title, WWE title.
She won both WWE titles.
Okay, so both the WWE titles and
the tag belts.
Okay, so here's the one thing that I'm going to say to that, and you can definitely disagree, and I expect you to disagree with this. While I think belts are important, the one thing I keep in mind with belts is WWE makes the decision who's going to win belts and who's not going to. And sometimes they put belts on people just to drive controversy and say, okay, we can push you as the heel and we can make you indestructible and we'll play that card out. Because that's what they did in NXT. They made her essentially unbeatable. So I don't put I put some weight in belts, because WWE does look at you and say, or whatever organization you're wrestling for does look at you and say, okay, you can be the top person because we have trust that you're going to be able to put on good matches and that people are going to either hate or love you at this point in time. But it's still a predetermined thing who's going to get the belt. So while she's been a grand champ, she's had all those belts. I can't overlook the fact of, and I don't know a lot about Alundra Blaze because I didn't see her a lot because I wasn't watching wrestling at that time because I just wasn't into it. But you guys know more than I do about her. But taking that part out, because Alundra Blaze had a title, I'm sure. I don't know for sure, but I don't know. Joe or Pat can weigh more in on the Alundra Blaze versus Asuka.
I don't like Asuka, and I like Alundra Blaze. And I still think Asuka should be on this list, and I don't like Asuka. Joe will tell you I do not like Asuka.
I know you.
So
don't.
I have never liked her. I don't see why people like her. I don't like listening to her jibber jabber on the microphone because it's a waste of time in my opinion. But I think the NXT title matters more than the other belts. Like that to me is the belt that matters more in this, because that is where I think your wrestling matters. Like they don't usually put that belt on people who aren't good at wrestling, and there's more of a premium on that in NXT, I think. So that's why winning that women's title to me is actually more important than the other ones, because that's why Becky not winning that is a big deal to me, because she kind of sucked when she was in NXT. In my opinion, she was not really relevant to me. So I like Alundra Blaze, and I don't have a problem with her. Like I said, she would have been on. I tried to not have her come in this, Jeremy, just because I didn't think you would have seen a lot about her or you weren't familiar with her. So I was trying to get it more people. We all knew who they all are. So I was trying to keep Alundra Blaze out of this because I figured you didn't know a lot about her. So,
and that's fine. I can respect that. All
So-
right. So moving on. So we got Natalia at 15, Beth Phoenix at 14, Gail Kim at 13, Paige at 12, and AJ Lee at 11. So Mickey James at 10. I think that's a respectable spot for her, considering what she did when she had to do it, coming in
Yeah,
after
she's
Trish
worthy.
status. So
she's worthy. So she's still going too. So
Yes.
she's still wrestling. So
yeah, and I think she's doing a lot, just like Natalia is. I think she's doing a lot for the
Yes.
younger wrestlers, helping to, move them along in their career, knowing that I'm past, my prime days are over. I'm not going to be winning a title. I'm not going to be selfish about this. Let me help out some of these younger talents and learning how to develop a character, put on a match. Because just like Trish, she was wrestling in a time where, and unfortunately, because a lot of it's WWE, it was fucking pillow matches and fucking bra and panty matches, and she had to go through those. But then she really put on good wrestling matches too.
Especially with Lita.
Yeah, with Lita and it's crazy ass shit. But okay, so now we're getting into number 9, Alexa Bliss. I don't know.
she gets hurt. She gets
I'm a little
hurt.
torn. I'm a little torn on her.
Here's Alexa. She had good title reigns with both belts. She didn't have 2-week title reigns. She had legit title reigns with both belts, and she was healthy, and she was really good. And she's also the best person on this whole list on the mic too. Like, I would take her over anybody else on this list on the mic. So that also gets her points, is that she's really, really good at that. Whereas there's not a lot of people on this list who I would be giving a 9 or 10 to on the mic. So she is injury prone. So but because she had 2 really good title reigns, if she had 2 weak title reigns, it'd be different. She had a good title reign with the SmackDown Women's title and then a good one with the Raw one. So that's why she's on this list for me. It's she before her injury, she was lightning in a bottle with WWE. They pulled her off NXT, threw her in a match one day, and they're like, "Holy shit! What were we doing with her in NXT? We were wasting her in NXT." Like, she's the one person that is substantially, her and Becky to me are the people that are better on the main roster than they were on NXT. Most of the other people on this list, I think, were better in NXT. Alexa's one of the people that she was kind of garbage when she was on NXT. She was a cheerleader. They didn't know what to do with her. And then they brought her up to the main roster and said, "Oh, look, we have this diamond in the rough that we didn't even know we had."
So I'm a little torn on, I don't know if she belongs in the top 10. And I think, and Pat mentioned this too, Darth Pat mentioned, China's number 4. I really want to move China to like 9, because while she had a super impact on the game as far as women's wrestling, she made women's wrestling noticed because of how large of a woman she was, how muscular she was. She couldn't talk on the mic, and she didn't really have good matches.
She had good matches with guys. She had good matches with Chris Jericho, and that's the thing that puts her where she is. She had good matches with guys. I don't care about the matches she had with women. She had good matches with guys. That's where her impact is, right there. It's because of that. And I don't care if we move her down. She's another person that, if we're going to move Bayley or Lita up at the expense of China, I don't really care. She wrestled dudes. That's the big part of this for me.
Yeah, and I'd have to go back and watch those wrestling matches with the men that she wrestled, because I don't really remember those. I remember her, I think she fought Ken Shamrock once or some shit like that, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a long time.
She fought Jericho. She fought Jericho I was at an event, and she fought him in a good housekeeping match. I was at that event
I feel like China should go down to 9, and at this time move everybody else up 1 spot.
Joe, how far do we drop China if we're going to drop her? Are you okay with dropping her all the way to 9? Because me and you both are advocates for her, I feel like. Jeremy's not wrong. She's not great on the mic, so she's She's
No.
She's a 2-3-4 on the mic at best. So that definitely wasn't her strong point. So Jeremy's not wrong with that assessment of her.
And let's not forget, like, she didn't even want to wrestle women. Yeah, the problem with her too is that she got way too big of a head, and she thought she should be like the highest paid wrestler in the company, and all kinds of other shit. So it's like, dude, you have not done anything to warrant that. I have no problem moving her down.
That's fine.
I would put Mickie James ahead of her.
That's tough because of the impact. I think Chyna had a greater impact in wrestling than Mickie James did. Like, Mickie James was able to take the torch that was given to her by Trish and continue on, but I don't think that she had a bigger impact.
So we're going to move Chyna to 9, then move everybody up a spot, at least at this point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Unless you got something that you.
Pat made a good point. So Pat made a good point. Like I said, I was putting her on here because she wrestled men. That's mainly why, because she kind of wanted, but I didn't realize that it was to the degree where she just didn't want to wrestle with women.
Yeah, she didn't. No,
she definitely didn't. JR has mentioned that many times.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that puts Alexa Bliss at 8.
Yes. And
even though I don't necessarily personally agree with it, just because one, I think her career's been short, along with some of the other ones that are on the top 10. I'll go with the consensus here, if I could say that word, that she's deserving of that spot at this time.
So then we get to 7, where I have Becky, and I am the Becky. I don't like Becky. I'm never going to like Becky, but her not winning the NXT title to me is a big thing here.
Right.
So
and I really think we should switch Becky and Asuka. If we're not going to take Asuka off the list, and I get it, I get it, but I really think those two should be flip-flopped because besides the title reign, so it's almost like a toss-up because you got the title reign in NXT to the no title reign in NXT to better mic skills against pretty much no mic skills.
I think Becky's crap on the mic, so Asuka can't talk, but I don't think Becky's much better personally. So that one I'm not giving a lot of ground on because I think Becky's not good on the mic. I've never thought she was good on the mic. I'm not buying that. So
okay. All right.
And like I said, I don't like Asuka. Or I don't like either of these people. So
all right, so Joe and Pat, need your thoughts on that. Do we flip-flop them or keep them where they are?
I'd put Becky ahead of Asuka.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Well, general consensus then, Asuka at 7. Well, she still remains at the same spot. She just so she's just not number 6, which I think 7's respectable. And then 6 is Becky Lynch. Okay.
Well, this is the first time where I'm completely against anything. I'm completely against this. So,
yeah. Well, and it was bound to happen at some point in time.
I know, but 2 of you guys don't even watch NXT, so you can't even you don't know what she really did there. So 2 of you didn't even watch NXT, so you can't really gauge how important that was or whether that matters. And that's where I think the problem is. If you didn't watch NXT all the time, you don't know, as much as I don't like Asuka, how good she was there and how Becky wasn't very good there. She was the worst of the 4 horsewomen by far, and even my friends who like Becky acknowledge that she wasn't great when she was NXT. So that's the problem, is I feel like you guys are just basing it on what you've seen her, and that's not fair to what happened in NXT then, and that's what a lot of this is based on. We're not just doing what they've done on the main roster, we're also doing what they did in NXT. And if you didn't watch it very much or you haven't seen a lot of it, then you don't really know. Joe's the only other person on here, and Joe did say Becky should be higher than Asuka, but there's no way from NXT I could do that. There's no way. We're not talking about one was a 5 and one was a 4. We're talking about Asuka was an 8 and Becky was a 4 probably in NXT. So that's a huge gap.
Here's the difference, though. Here's why I'll put Becky in front. When she changed to the whole man thing, everyone bought into it. And the other thing too is that
most people bought into it, not everyone.
We know you didn't. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a general statement. Most people bought into it, and it was a moneymaker for them. She became the top selling merchandise person for WWE, and that has not happened where a female is being the top selling merch seller for them. So that's kind of like, that's a big thing for her career in regards to that. So it kind of balances out her shitty NXT run for career in NXT, because that was a whole year of her being on fire, doing the man thing and all that stuff. Yeah, she was imitating Stone Cold. We know what she was doing, but everyone in WWE bought into it, and the majority of the fans did. So it kind of puts her a little bit ahead of Asuka in regards to that.
And she bought into it, which made it believable for the people that were watching. That liked Becky.
And it was a huge moneymaker. Like when you have a female as your top merch seller, that's huge for them. It's huge for her too. Listen, she's not one of my. I like her, but she's not my favorite 4 horsewoman. But
fine if Joe puts her there. That's fine. I'm gonna say it very loudly. I still think Becky Lynch sucks.
Okay. That is your opinion.
I'm just going to add this thought in.
Ooh, excuse me if you heard me, but I apologize.
I don't think what happened in NXT matters.
Well, then that's the problem, Pat. So just stop.
Because
all right. First off,
because the guy,
let me interrupt for just a second.
Because the guy who owns the company doesn't seem to know what goes on in NXT.
Well, but still, it matters.
I think it matters as a minor league. So,
of course, you would say that. So,
because that's the way they treat it.
Yeah, I mean, they
change everybody from NXT when they come up to the main roster, and that's the main reason I don't watch NXT, because I don't want to be liking the way that a character is in NXT, and then having the second that they come up to the main roster, that they either get forgotten about after 4 weeks, or that they just become totally changed. So it's not worth investing my time into watching what goes on in NXT when as soon as they change shows, nothing matters anymore. So that's my problem with it.
Yeah, and I expected you to say something of that nature, so I'm not surprised. So
next, who we have next on our list? Let's
Lita.
Keep it on moving.
Lita is next on our list, She is next on the list, and I think she's rightfully at number 5. I think that's a good spot for her. I think wrestling-wise, gimmick-wise, everything, she definitely belongs in the top 5.
She did cool stuff, and she was in that. She was in the one really good women's match before 2014 with Trish. So that's the only women's match that anybody ever talks about that happened before like 2014.
And she's like one of the first. She's like one of the first women in that company to do anything like moonsault or high flying or, she was the Hardy Boy, so she was adventurous. She was gonna do the same shit those guys did.
And her career was cut short because of those things and
some injuries,
unnecessary bumps. She got injured a couple times and really shortened her career. I think she would have wrestled quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
She's probably where she belongs. So
all right. And then 4 is Bayley, which I agree with that. I think that's a good spot for her.
If she had never turned heel, she would have been lower. But she turned heel, and all of a sudden she learned how to use the microphone, which I didn't think was possible with her. So clearly she's way more comfortable being a heel, because when she was the female John Cena as a face, it got old.
It was just hard to buy that somebody's that happy-go-lucky all the fucking time. And I know there's really people like that, but it's hard to believe that when you're watching a show.
Professional wrestling, yeah.
And she's been in big-time matches, too. That's the other thing. You can't pretend that Bayley hasn't been in, like I said, she was in the best women's match I've ever seen, in my opinion, at TakeOver with Sasha. So...
Okay, so that moves us into number 3. So 1, 2, 3. My 1, 2, 3 would be actually Charlotte, Trish, Sasha. that's how I would do the top three. And since we are on the last three, I know how AJ has it. He has it Trish, Sasha, Charlotte. Joe, how would you do 1, 2, 3 out of those last three?
If it was the beginning, if it was last year, I'd probably have it Sasha, Trish, Flair, but I'll flip flop Sasha with Trish now because of her current run.
So you'd have
I have Trish, Sasha, Flair.
Okay, so the same way as AJ.
Yeah.
All right.
If we were doing this last year, Trish and Sasha would have been flipped.
Yeah, I probably would have been with Joe on that. Sasha's what Sasha's done in the last year has completely elevated her to like she's in that little tier by her, kind of with Charlotte, Trish. So she's elevated herself.
Them finally doing the true thing they should have done years ago with her and Bailey. You know, the heel turn with Bailey on Sasha, and then Sasha doing her thing, and what Sasha is currently doing with the title. Yeah.
All right, Darth Pat. I think you said you would have Trish above Charlotte.
I'd have Trish 1 and Charlotte 2, and Sasha wouldn't be in my top 3. So,
okay, all right. So, well, based on the consensus, we'll keep 1, 2, 3 the same then as it is. So where would you have Sasha if you didn't have her in the top 3, just out of curiosity?
Excuse me.
Somewhere between 4 and 8, I guess, without thinking about it that hard.
Okay.
I've never been overly impressed with her. I've never bought her character. So I never thought she's terrific on the mic.
Nobody ever said she was terrific on the mic. Nobody on this list except for Alexa and Charlotte are terrific on the mic.
I've just never been I've never been really that enamored of Sasha. Same thing goes for Bailey though too. So I mean, Bailey definitely did get better in my eyes when she finally turned heel, but I just whatever.
Pat, have you ever watched the Bailey Sasha match for an NXT Takeover? Probably not.
You already know the answer to that. So
well, then that's we're done. We don't even have to talk anymore about that. He hasn't even watched what's arguably the best women's match of all time. He's never even watched it. So
okay, so my opinion doesn't matter. Don't ask me again. Let's move on to the next topic.
Okay. So and here's the thing: lists are subjective. So while we're allowed to have our opinion, we don't have to, just because you didn't watch this match or just because you didn't do this, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not necessarily true. It's based on his opinion of what he has seen. Doesn't mean that his opinion's wrong or anybody's opinion's wrong. It just means that it's their opinion based on what they've actually seen. And that's why lists are biased. No matter what you do, list is always going to be biased. So our list of the top 15 after going through and talking about this, 15 Natalya, 14 Beth Phoenix, 13 Gail Kim, 12 Paige, 11 AJ Lee, 10 Mickie James, 9 Chyna, 8 Alexa Bliss, 7 Asuka, 6 Becky Lynch, 5 Lita, 4 Bayley, 3 Trish, 2 Sasha, and 1 Charlotte. So what we'd like our listeners to do is go over to our YouTube page, Four Guys Roundtable Show, and leave a comment with if you agree with our list, don't agree with our list, what you would change about our list. We'd love to hear some of your guys' opinions, especially if you are like AJ and watch pretty much any wrestling that's on there, except for maybe some foreign stuff. So, and that's one of the things, like, we all love wrestling. We just don't all watch it at the same capacity as each other. So that's where sometimes the back and forth comes. But
it complicates things.
Once again, it's all based on opinion. So it's opinion of what you've seen, what you've been impressed with, where you would rate them. So I think it's still a really good list. Better than fucking WWE's list, because their list is so fucking biased. It's like, oh, well, they're their top people, so we'll just put them at the top.
They had Ronda Rousey number 9 on their list. She wrestled for a year, and I like Ronda Rousey, and she had no business being anywhere near a top 10.
Yeah.
Hell no, she had barely any mic skills. She was not really that good in the ring because all she was doing was MMA stuff.
She did a pretty good job of adjusting, and she did fine at that. But I don't know what I was like. No.
All right, so
there just wasn't any longevity there.
No, and she's probably not going to ever come back either. She's probably fucking done with wrestling, even though she probably has a contract for like 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, she's on a 3-year contract. Yeah.
She is.
All right, so we have to talk. We got to talk sports. We got to talk some sports because there's been a lot of things happening. Baseball started up on Thursday, so baseball started up. Opening day is hence why Theo has his Cubs hat on, and I think a Cubs shirt too.
Yep. Even though they lost yesterday.
He's lost too, so.
We got baseball that started up. We're getting close to the NBA playoffs, I believe, if I remember correctly. I know March Madness is going on, and I know AJ was probably fucking elated when Ohio State got eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah,
he probably jumped around and just ran out of the side and said, "Fuck Ohio State."
This is the worst Final Four ever, in my opinion. I have no interest in it.
Who is in the Final Four? Because I apologize, I do not keep up. College basketball and college football are just things that I do not keep up with as far as sports.
We have Baylor versus Houston in one bracket and one side, and then we have Gonzaga and UCLA. UCLA is like on the Cinderella run where they played on the first 4 in game as the 11 seed, and they've just pretty much gone through their whole bracket. They're going to get destroyed tomorrow. They have no chance against the Zags.
So that
team is too talented and too deep. There's no way.
We could see Gonzaga finally in the playing for a national championship and actually possibly win it.
I think they're going to win
because I paid attention to brackets because I've done the brackets in the past and been like, okay, this team's good, and I always completely get my bracket destroyed at some point in time. But I always see Gonzaga's name up there. It's very far and few between that Gonzaga's not in the tournament. They just usually blow it at some point in time.
Not in the last, all of a sudden in the last 10 or 12 years, they've been a fixture. But before that, nobody knew anything about them except for when John Stockton was there. Yeah. So.
Well, and that's when I used to do my brackets probably about 5 years ago 10 years ago is probably when I started doing brackets. And then I did that for about 5 years or so. And that, like I said, that's because, and that's when I always saw Gonzaga. But, it's nice to see that they might actually pull it off this year. But Houston, what? I don't even think I mean, I know Houston has a college and, because there's a ton of colleges in Texas, but Houston, really?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, if the Zags play Baylor's going to give them a hard time, but they're going to end up beating them. If they play Houston, I mean, Houston's a good team, but they're going to beat them by 15 if it's Houston. I just don't see Houston. I don't see any of those three unless some miracle shit happens. That's the only thing I can see.
I didn't think UCLA was going to beat Michigan either. That game was a snooze fest.
Yeah,
a lot of defense.
51-49, Jeremy, was the final.
That's a lot of missed buckets.
Yeah, no, it is.
Because even the college game is so fucking fast anymore. That's got to be a ton of missed buckets.
No, it was an ugly game. That's the way that both teams play. UCLA has to play that way to win because they don't have as much talent as everybody else.
Who the hell was playing? There was a team. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago that played a SAG zone and was really able to keep opponents from.
Well, Syracuse has always played that 2-3 zone. They've been playing that for years.
Not a 2-3. They played a SAG. It's played similar to a man zone, where they play man zone, but it's.
Who was that?
It was a really good team too, and they went really far in the tournament that year. I just can't remember who it was.
Virginia?
Who?
Virginia?
Yes, it was Virginia. Yes, thank you.
Virginia plays a generally low-scoring style.
They do.
So.
Yeah, and they
ugly.
Yeah, they were because I remember watching a breakdown of their defense and trying to teach the kids that I coach that defense and it's not a hard defense to learn. It's because it's still played like a zone, but it's partially played like man. But you don't you don't give them anything up top. It's like real tight up top, and you crowd the middle. It's like I said, it's not that difficult once you watch it and break it down, but it was difficult to try and teach the kids. So, but yeah, you're right. It was Virginia. But so
teach your kids anything is difficult.
Especially when they think they already know.
Virginia actually managed to win a national championship, smashed in between two losses to low double-digit seeds. So,
well, I mean, yeah, they set that dubious distinction by being the first 1 seed to lose to a 16. So,
and won a national title, and then lost to a 13 this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they lose as a 1 to a 16, then win the national championship, then there was no tournament, and then they lose in the first round again. Yeah, it was 4-13, like you said.
And tonight's the women's Final Four. That's going on right now.
Nice. All right, so baseball started. Exciting for those who enjoy baseball. I listen to it occasionally. I cannot watch it on TV unless I want to take a nap. Puts me to sleep. It's too slow of a pace of a game for me. I did love baseball when I played baseball as a kid, and I really do like going to the park to watch baseball. Like I'll go to a game and I'll watch baseball. Like that is a lot of fun, and it's nice to have the Iron Pigs, who is our local Phillies AAA ball team, here close to us. So I get the opportunity and it's also cool because my dad started working for them 2 years ago. So he gets, free tickets, and you just got to let him know. So we get to go see them. So that's pretty cool. And they're going to have, just like with Major League, they're going to have like a certain capacity level that they're allowed to seat. So we'll have the opportunity to go see a game. So Darth Pat, how's baseball going so far? I know you're a Yankees fan.
That's a great accent, actually.
I know.
What the hell was that voice?
The Yankees fan. I'm gonna keep doing it,
Don't quit your day job.
This is not the first time Pat's told you that, Jeremy.
That's all right.
How's baseball going so far? Well, the Yankees lost yesterday because they decided they couldn't hit the ball, which is always fun. It's one game, so I'm not going to freak out yet.
The Phillies won their home opener. I saw that. That was nice.
I mean, the more interesting stories out of baseball this week, other than that it just the season started, was
Lindor getting too much money.
This huge contract extension that Francisco Lindor got from the Mets, and then the Mets Nationals entire opening series getting postponed because of COVID tests, and then of course the big news was that they are moving the All-Star game out of Georgia, out of Atlanta, after the law that was passed there. So, which I fully supported. So, because it was going to be a little problematic to be doing this whole big thing honoring Hank Aaron at the All-Star game in Atlanta when this state passed the series of, very restrictive voter laws. There's really going to be a lot of contradictory shit going on if they try to do that. So I was fully supportive of them taking the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Don't know where they're going to put it yet. They haven't announced that. So we'll see. But I had no problem with them doing it. So
if they're going to honor Hank Aaron, they should move it to Milwaukee.
They probably should. I don't remember when Milwaukee last had it, but that doesn't really seem to matter.
I don't think it matters this time. If you're going to honor Hank Aaron, honor it to send it to Milwaukee, where the Braves used to be and all that stuff. Start his career.
He did actually spend the majority of his career between, he was more of he did spend more years as a Milwaukee Brave than as an Atlanta Brave. And then, of course, his last 2 years of his career, he went back to Milwaukee with the Brewers. So always a little fun bit of trivia there. Is one of those guys who, played for a different team at like the tail end of his career, like Willie Mays with the Mets, and what was the other one that I always think of? No, I can't remember it. Damn it. I had one and I just I forgot it. So
well, as far as the Braves go,
it's always one of those ones where you like Babe Ruth with the Braves, even though he had, of course, played with the Red Sox prior to the Yankees. But it's like whenever you see a guy who's so iconic with one team, and then all of a sudden you see him in a different uniform, and it just looks weird. Like, it's like Jordan in a Wizards uniform and Joe Montana.
I know.
Joe Montana in a Chiefs uniform, and that kind of stuff. So, Martin Brodeur in a Blues jersey, like that was like last 10 games of his career. So, yeah.
So, and I'll say this as a Philadelphia Phillies fan, the Braves can suck a biggie because there always seems to be a year the Phillies are doing really good and it looks like they could do something, and then the Braves step in and they fuck it all up. And there's been too many of those seasons, so I'm definitely not ever rooted. I will never root for the Braves unless of course they were playing the Houston Astros, and then that's a different story because the Houston Astros are a bunch of cheap bastards. So anybody that beats them is okay by me.
Well, just on the subject of the Phillies and the All-Star game, the Phillies, of course, are getting the All-Star game. It's kind of funny because so many teams got new stadiums over the last 2.5 decades, and it seemed like they made sure that they went and stuck an All-Star game in those new stadiums like as soon as possible for the most part. But Citizens Bank Park has still never had the All-Star game since it opened, and it's been open for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
And of course, they have it on the schedule, and that's in 5 years from now. So when it's because 2026, 250th anniversary of the country, where was the country founded? Philadelphia. So that's why they're doing that. So they're probably going to make it
historical. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're going to make a huge deal out of all that, which I think is going to be pretty cool. And I've been to Citizens Bank Park a couple of times. I think it's a beautiful stadium. So, I think that'll be a pretty good event. So looking forward to that in 5 years. But
maybe you and I, since we both live in the state of Pennsylvania, maybe you and I will take a trip down. Maybe we'll spend $600 on some All-Star tickets.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much is it going to cost for like nosebleed seats and shit? But hey, it's an All-Star game. So, you're literally going to be seeing
whose dick are we going to have to suck to get those fucking tickets?
I cherish peace with every fiber of my being. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to achieve it.
Hey, just go by John Cena's motto and then use Suicide Squad. Thousands of dicks on the beach. I will suck all those dicks for society. Hey.
Well, that's what I was. There's another new Suicide Squad trailer that just came out where he says that line that I just said. So
yeah,
because he doesn't care about how many people he has to kill to achieve peace. So
so
we get a 17-game NFL season.
Yes, I did see that. But before we move to the NFL, I want to talk about the NBA because
I was trying to do the NFL before we got to the NBA. That's
why. I can't help but want to talk about this because I enjoy this. I think this person is a really good ball player. And up until now, thought he was a good person. He might actually still be a good person. But
he says this isn't the first. This is the dumbest stuff he's done, but this isn't the first time he said some questionable stuff. He's not always said the smartest thing to the media before.
Yes. So Michael Rappaport got some inappropriate messages from one Kevin Garnett. Kevin Durant. Jesus mighty. I knew who I was talking about and said the wrong name. Kevin Durant.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, maybe Kevin Bacon too. But the interesting thing is that Michael Rappaport is not even an NBA player. He's he's a fucking washed up actor. Like
the only reason Michael Rappaport is relevant is because he's a LeBron James hater.
Yes.
He hates LeBron. So me, him, and Joe have something in common.
He's A+ in my book.
But, to be honest, I mean, Michael Rappaport, his acting career has been over for a very, very long time. Like the last relevant movie that I can think of was Higher Learning.
Wow.
I mean, I know there's other movies, but that's the last one that I remember seeing him in personally.
He's definitely been in stuff since that, but yeah, you don't see him. It does seem like he's known more as a podcaster these days than as an actor.
Right.
Yeah.
He's an NBA fan. Like he's
Yes, he is.
actually most known at this point for being an NBA fan, and he is also known because he's a LeBron hater.
But yeah, and from what I know about him, because I've seen him do some interviews and stuff like that, he is very outspoken when it comes to what he believes in and what, his opinion when it comes to the NBA. So it's not like he was probably the kindest person. So I imagine because they don't, they didn't give us the full details. They just give us what Kevin Durant did.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I want to know the full conversation. Like, how did this conversation even start?
Right.
Like, who said what to piss each other off, and where did that conversation go? That Durant's getting in trouble for all this derogatory language shit.
My guess is Michael Rappaport probably said something on his podcast or at some other point in time, and Kevin Durant heard about it. And
Probably had to be his podcast.
because of who Michael Rappaport is and the fact that he was a celebrity, he's a evidently well-known podcaster. He knew how to get in contact with him somehow, and evidently, on Twitter. So did he apologize?
Yeah, DMs on Twitter or something like that.
DM'd him on Twitter and said like a whole bunch of disparaging remarks. And of course, PR, the PR people got involved, and Kevin Durant's PR people said, "You got to make a retraction statement. You got to say something nice," which
Look at that.
I have a hard time believing those fucking things when they come out afterwards. I don't want the people to think this is who I am. Well, guess what? The real you comes out at some point in time, and this fake you that people like to put on because, hey, I'm a NBA person, or I'm a celebrity of some type, whether I play sports or whatever it is. There's a real you and there's a fake you, and it gets really hard to believe who is being real and who's being fake when you have to put out retraction statements about something disparaging that you said or inappropriate that you said. The same thing happened with that guy a couple of weeks ago with the saying the inappropriate comment about the Jewish, community.
Miles Leonard, that moron.
Leonard. It's like, come on, man. Like,
butthead.
It's evidently who you are, and you only let it come out when evidently somebody pisses you off personally. And it's just interesting. It's very interesting. I don't want people to think that this is who I am. You're right. It may not be you all the time, but it evidently is a part of who you are. It's not like all who you are all the time. But that's why I was like I wouldn't say I was a Barry Bonds fan, but Barry Bonds was always honest, and he was always true to who he was. He was,
except when he said he didn't use steroids.
He did lie about that. But with the media and anybody else, he was who he was. Like, he didn't sugarcoat who he was as, I don't care about the media. I don't care about you, because you don't mean anything in my life. Like, I am a baseball player, and that's what I do. I do it well. And everybody else besides my family,
can eat shit, basically.
Yeah. And he was never a dick about it. He was always polite about it, but he didn't make any qualms about who he was and what he felt was honest about himself. So
Durant also, after he left Oklahoma City, he supposedly made fake burner accounts and put messages and because he got so much backlash for doing that. And I like Kevin Durant, kind of, but he's not very genuine. He's not a very genuine person. He's proved that he cares too much about what everybody else thinks about him. Whereas I think LeBron and Steph, they don't really pay attention to that anymore. They've kind of learned how to tone that out. Durant still got that devil, he still got the people on his shoulder and they're in his ear and he can hear him talking. You gotta win. You gotta win more championships. You gotta stack your team like you're doing again, because you can't win by yourself. So he's just he's not comfortable in his own skin if he's worried. He's so worried about what other people are saying about him, and he lets it get to him. Whereas, like I said, as much as I don't like LeBron, I think LeBron and Steph have managed to rise above that, and they just don't pay attention to what people are saying about them. They just have learned to ignore it, I think, for the most part, and that's what Durant needs to do. He needs to just ignore it and not pay attention. But he doesn't know how to do that.
No. It should be getting better advice.
one thing that bothers me, this was the quote. Here, let me see. I'm sorry that people seen that language I used. That's not really what I want people to see and hear from me. But hopefully I can move past it and get back out there on the floor. That is what you can best describe as a non-apology apology. He's saying he's sorry, but he's not really saying that he's sorry. He didn't say, I'm sorry for what I said. I should not have used those words, and I will do my best to make sure I don't say those words again. That's not what he said. He said, I'm sorry that people saw what I said. AKA, I'm sorry I got caught.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anytime you see somebody apologize in that manner, you really can't take it as a full-throated apology.
No.
This is somewhat similar, though not exactly, when WWE brought Hulk Hogan back into the fold after the racial slurs, videotape and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He got up and talked in front of the whole locker room supposedly, and supposedly what he said was akin to, be careful of what you say when you're out in public, or be careful of what you say when you're on social media, or you never know when somebody might be videotaping it. He never actually apologized for the language that he used, and it's why I think there's still a lot of guys in the locker room, like the New Day guys and some others, who are very unwilling to embrace him, which I totally get.
Absolutely.
And also, it also provides a big contradiction into how WrestleMania is being hosted by Hulk Hogan and Titus
O'Neil.
Yeah.
So you've got Hulk Hogan, who got caught for using racist language and quite
anti-Semitic,
didn't really apologize for it, and Titus O'Neil, who's well known as being one of the best, most charitable guys out there, especially on the WWE roster, and
Yes,
obviously African American. And you want these two guys to host this thing together?
He's probably,
idea.
He's probably Titus O'Neil's probably like thinking, if I saw this motherfucker in the back alley, I'd kick his ass.
That's so true.
Because Titus is still a pretty built guy and everything. But
oh yeah,
I almost kind of hope that Titus went to somebody backstage and goes, "You want me to host it with this motherfucker who's never apologized for using the N-word on a tape? How much of a bonus am I getting?"
Well, he's getting the Warrior Award supposedly, so he's getting that supposedly too.
So he's getting an award named in honor of a guy who was well known for using derogatory language that's akin to what Kevin Durant just did.
I know how that's just crazy that does that sound.
I'm sure that you're right. I'm sure that Titus is like, there better be some extra cash in this for me. Can I get a ride on Brock's private jet to WrestleMania this year?
I wish I could find it. I'm trying to find, and I was looking at my phone. That's why you guys probably saw my head down so much. There was a like meme that I saw with Kevin Durant in it about like a comment he made when he was playing with the Oklahoma City, OKC. About not, trying to get traded to other teams and taking pay cuts and shit like that. I wish I could find that. It was really, really funny. Because evidently he made some kind of comment when he was with OKC before he got traded to the Warriors about not.
No, he didn't get traded. He
not get traded
with them,
but signed with them before he signed with them about just playing for who you play for and and some kind of shit like that. I was like,
he's
really funny.
He's had a couple of moments in his career, open mouth and insert foot. This isn't the first time this is the worst thing he's ever said, but this isn't the first time he said something stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I know I personally have had that problem at times. Open mouth, insert foot, and I've gotten better with it in my years.
It happens.
But I'm also not a public figure, so the only people that I'm offending is my family by accident. I'm not offending a whole group of fucking people. But so it's just funny. All right.
I can just picture Jeremy having to issue a public apology in front of his entire family. I'm sorry that people took offense to what I said. I will try to do better in the future. Now, are there any questions? Jeremy. Jeremy's daughter holds up her hand. What is it? Daddy, you didn't actually apologize.
I mean, at that point, Jeremy can just tell everybody what he told me. I hate everybody equally.
That's a very true statement.
No, you told me that early in our friendship. You're like, Matt, I'm not racist. I hate everybody equally. So I don't just pick out somebody. I will say bad shit about everybody.
Yeah,
and you've stuck to your guns on that, Jeremy. I don't think you've ever really wavered from that. So
no, and it's the honest to God truth. It's one of the things that for me, like when I think about creed, color, religion, all those things, one of the things I take very much to heart is from Martin Luther King. I judge people on the quality of their character, not anything else about them. If you're a good person, you're a good person. I don't give a shit what you look like, what you believe in, but if you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're not a good person, you're not. Like it doesn't none of that other stuff matters in being a good person or not. So that's why I can honestly say I hate everybody equally and I like everybody equally. So because it's the truth. And our world would be a lot better if people could just think like that. I hate everybody equally. Some people I like equally, but so you had mentioned the NFL. What did you want to say about the NFL?
We're going to a 17. They're adding an extra game.
Yes, I did hear that. That's going to be interesting because they're eliminating if I remember correctly, I did hear that they're also eliminating
preseason
game.
Is it 2 preseason games or just one?
Just one.
Just one. Okay. See, I think they should just take the preseason down to 2 and let them play a 17-game season. Because preseason, let's be honest, we've all watched enough NFL over the years. The preseason doesn't really mean shit except for the guys that are trying to make the team, that are on the cusp of, what is it, the 53-man roster for the NFL, I believe it is.
I don't have a problem with them going to an extra game. The problem is now records become like it's harder because you get to play an extra game, so you have an extra chance to get more yards, and like this is where like records like start to like become, that extra game could make it easier to get to 2,000 yards rushing or 1,000 yards receiving or whatever. So
yeah, maybe
we're going to have to add the asterisk.
Nah, fuck that asterisk shit.
Well, and that's the thing too. When you think about it, I'd have to go back and check. I don't know the exact date or year that they went into the 16-game schedule, but there was.
What did we say? 70?
1979.
Joe brought it up the other night. So
okay,
1979.
So I mean, think about all the guys that were playing before that, and the people that were watching before that, and all of a sudden now they're going to 16 games. They were probably thinking the same thing we're thinking.
Oh, they
were. So it's gonna happen. It's bound to happen at some point in time. It's unfortunate for the guys that played on a shortened schedule, and were able to accomplish those feats without the extra game. But we'll see. I don't think, in my personal opinion, there's a lot of good players out there. There's a lot of studs out there as far as wide receivers, running backs, and stuff. But you don't see a lot of them because the way the game's changed, getting those big rushing.
Because the running backs, it's like a lot of teams have 2 running backs now, and it's a platoon system on a lot of teams.
I mean, last season we only had like 6 running backs that ran over 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So there's 2 things that are playing into that. Even though they're getting an extra game now to do it, there's 2 things that play against the running backs: 2-man platoons for running backs, and also the game is more of a pass game than anything.
So really, the quarterback is the person that's going to benefit from the extra game the most potentially. So
yeah, absolutely. And they're gonna stick with the 7. Is it 17? No. Why am I screwing this up? Yeah, 17 playoff. It was a 16 playoff. Now it's a 17 playoff, right?
Well, no, they did 7. They just did 7 this year.
Right. They're going to stick with the 17 playoff this year. So they're keeping that the same, which is, I actually kind of like that. I wasn't a fan of it at first, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? The top seed should be the only one that gets a bye, and everybody else should have to play a game. Why not? That makes sense. You're the best, and record-wise, you get the bye,
So if we were to, and we don't need to, I'm actually not bringing this up to cause an argument. I'm just curious.
Oh, okay.
So if you were gonna like make a list, and once again, this is in our lifetime, guys, so I don't care what happened. Where does Drew Brees rank? Top 10? Would you put him in your top? He's not my top 5 for sure. Maybe top 10 all time for me.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think I put him.
I don't like him. Number one, I don't like him, but I don't think I've seen people say he's like top 3, and I'm like, what are you smoking?
I wouldn't put him. I probably would not put him in my top 10. I think there's other quarterbacks that I would put ahead of him, just because of not even longevity, because he's had a hell of a long career. Like,
yeah, he's played a long
lot
time.
of years. But I would, playoff appearances.
But he's got one ring. He's got one ring.
Yeah, number of rings. There's a couple factors that I think there are some other quarterbacks that played before his time that still rank way above him.
Pat, where would you put him?
He definitely be top 10.
7, like 8, 9, 10 area.
I don't know if he'd crack top 5.
No, I don't think.
Sorry, 1978 is when he went to 16 games. That was off by year. It was 78.
The fact that he only won 1 Super Bowl, that's a knock against. Not necessarily his fault, of course, but
big knock for me because of who they beat. Big knock for me.
It is a knock. It is a knock.
Oh, Payne's like, here you go. You want to win the game? Because I don't. Here you go.
I mean, it's also not just that that he only won the one. He only never got to that one.
Mm-hmm.
He choked a few times.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to turn this into a discussion because it's not a fair comparison, but I think everybody always wants to talk about, oh, well, Eli only, had 2 runs or whatever. It's like, yeah, he won the Super Bowl both times. He got to the Super Bowl twice. He won both of them. So maybe
with shitty records too, if I remember correctly.
They were 10 and 6 and 7, but they beat Brady both times. So it's like, it's like
that's high marks from me.
you can bitch about like Eli's numbers and stuff, but that'll be an interesting thing for when his Hall of Fame discussion comes up in a couple of years.
Eli's a first-time Hall of Fame ballot, I believe. I'm not an Eli fan by any means.
He, in my mind, he is, but don't be surprised if he doesn't get in first ballot. But
so so then you would put Eli ahead of Brees then?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. That's
okay.
That's also kind of my point. I mean, I couldn't put Brees ahead of Brady or Manning or Peyton Manning. I probably couldn't put him ahead of Favre, really.
No way. No way he's ahead of Elway.
I don't think I could put him ahead of Montana.
No.
Montana won. Elway versus Brees, that'd be a tough one. I probably, because of what I just said, and because Elway was a bit of a different guy and really didn't play as long either. Probably.
He played in 5 Super Bowls and won 2, though.
Right. But no, what I'm saying is that like Elway's numbers aren't like I don't know like what his per year or per game averages are compared to Brees, and you do also have to take in the caveat, like you said, that it is more of a passing league now and everything. I'm saying I'd probably lean more towards ranking Elway over Brees. So
I might even put Marino over Brees myself. So.
And one of the things you got to look at with Brees
again, the thing with Marino, though, I got to knock it against him that he only got to 1 Super Bowl and he didn't win. So
yeah, he was a stat monster, but when it came to the games the most important game that counted, it didn't. He lost, and I think he only got there to 1 time, I believe, right?
Yeah, in '84. And the other thing with Marino is that, especially in the playoffs, it wasn't also only that he lost in the playoffs. He lost badly in the playoffs.
Especially his last 2 seasons, Denver and the Jaguars smoked him in the postseason.
So I mean, it's a tough one because I mean, Brees he pretty clearly is one of the best quarterbacks who played. I mean, he put up great stats. He did win games more often than he lost them. And the other thing too about it, you gotta just this isn't really like something to like argue necessarily for or against. You got to kind of admire the fact that one team basically gave up on him and he was able to put it together though for a different team and have a very successful career. Because we like when one team kind of dumps you and gives up on you like that, in most cases your career is over. But that didn't happen with him. So yeah, it's just something that works in his favor.
Right. It does and it doesn't. It does in the fact that Sean Payton saw something in him and gave him a chance, and they created something really special down there in New Orleans. I still believe that Super Bowl was a rigged Super Bowl. I'll never deny that. I still believe it's rigged because it was the same year that Hurricane Katrina bullshit. Well, I shouldn't say bullshit. That unfortunate event with Hurricane Katrina happened.
That wasn't the Katrina year.
It was right after it.
No, it was 4 years after it.
Are you sure about that? I don't believe
yes. So. Hurricane Katrina was 2005. That was 2009. That season where they won that Super Bowl. Trust me, I know because one of the reasons I know is because when they went on their run in 2005, the Saints were terrible, which wasn't really to be all that unexpected because of the fact that they basically did not have a home that year because of the hurricane. In 2006, when they went on the run to the NFC title game and lost to Joe's Bears, the narrative was endlessly, oh, they're playing for the city of New Orleans, and it's great that they're bringing stuff back for the city. And I was one of those cynical type of people who was like, yeah, that's great that they're playing well and it was unexpected and everything. And it's like, but I'm playing for the city. It's like, what exactly is it that they're doing that's like helping people who lost their fucking homes? But then they resurrected that whole fucking narrative again 3 years after the fact for that year when they did go on the run to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And it pissed me off that they resurrected that same goddamn narrative. I'm like, you used this narrative 3 years ago. You can't use a natural disaster narrative twice in a row. It would have been like if, after the Yankees lost the fucking World Series in 2001, just 2 months after 9/11 happened, as if like when they got back to the World Series in 2003, that they were saying, oh, they're trying to win this World Series for the people of New York City, which nobody fucking said that about that 2003 World Series where they lost to the Marlins. So it's like, go fuck yourself with this. They're playing for this city that got deflated.
And maybe that's why
narrative board bullshit. I mean,
that explains why I remember it the way I remember it, because of the fact that the media was pushing it that way. So
yeah,
that was a terrible pass that Peyton Manning threw to. Here's a Christmas gift.
Yeah, I'll still say it's rigged.
I was definitely not happy. I was definitely not happy at the end of that one either, Jeremy, because I hate the Saints. I hate Drew Brees. I've never liked that team. So
yeah, I didn't want the Saints to win that one either. I was definitely rooting for the Colts too.
But I think Sean Payton's a douche too. So,
well, when he wasn't he the coach that put out the freaking what the hell was it called, the hit squad or whatever?
The bounty.
Yeah, the bounty.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't the coach who put it out. That was more ascribed to Greg Williams, who was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But Payton was the head coach when it happened. So ultimately, it's like it's his responsibility. And that also, I don't know if we're done with this because bringing up the term bounty provided a segue that I wanted to just touch on real quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
So Bobby Lashley put a bounty on Drew McIntyre. And I think I said when we did the show last week or the week before, I don't remember now. I think I said it when we were on the air as opposed to when we were just talking to each other, that I thought it was cool that they're bringing back like an old school wrestling storyline because that was like a thing back in like.
You could say that.
Yeah, it was a thing back before, like the most famous one, I guess, was prior to Starrcade '83 when Harley Race put a bounty out on Ric Flair before their big Starrcade steel cage match, which Flair won and was seen as the NWA passing the torch and everything. Because like Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater tried to take Flair out and collect the bounty, and so I'm like, oh, I think that's just kind of cool. They're bringing back like a real old school like wrestling thing. And who the fuck do they get to show up to try to collect the bounty?
Baron Corbin,
Mr. Irrelevant himself.
Of all people.
Baron fucking Corbin, who has the biggest nuclear go away heat since probably in his prime Jeff Jarrett. And I love Jeff Jarrett, but the type of heat that Jeff Jarrett had for most of his run in both WWF and WCW was go away. I don't want to see you on my television. And Baron Corbin is definitely the guy over the last 20 years who has had that type of heat better than anybody.
But
And
WWE doesn't see it that way. They're like, oh man, the crowd hates this guy. They don't realize that they hate him because they don't want him to be on the roster anymore.
it's just
MVP made sure and pointed out though that Baron Corbin's not in the Hurt business, and it's just him and Bobby Lashley now.
well, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
wherever
that
they're going
was-
with that.
I think that was a mistake too, but Jesus Christ!
I don't.
This is the perfect time you could have elevated somebody else or somebody who isn't being used or brought somebody up from NXT. Perfect opportunity to try to do something like that and make a big deal out of
The
it.
best scenario there would have been brought somebody up from NXT because there's nobody on the Raw roster they could have used in this position.
The fact that they're still trying to push
Well-
Bobby Lashley is funny.
Well, what roster is Aleister Black on? I know.
I don't care.
I'm just saying. I'm just thinking of somebody who they haven't used, who I thought had some talent from what I saw of him. That I thought maybe
like
they could have
Black.
done something, but clearly they don't think anything of him, or Vince
did-
doesn't think anything of him. So
I
mean,
like
it's
his
something
wrestling
else.
ability, but that was about it.
I guess they could have done something with him, but not seeing him on TV hasn't bothered me in the slightest. So
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I was expecting them to actually, to go that route. But I mean, that would have been better than fucking.
I saw somebody trying to pitch a new Hurt business, and it was like Ricochet and Keith Lee and Naomi.
Oh god, it's getting worse.
That
Put those-
seems a little. That just seems a little too random. Really.
I mean, random factions work. Look at AEW; they threw the Inner Circle together, and that somehow worked. And I've never really liked that group either. So, and they just threw random people in that one too.
Yeah, I
So
don't
are they faces now?
Yes, they are faces.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
faces because MJF turned and formed his own group. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how they
First
were
off-
going to. I wasn't quite sure how they were going to book that. If they were going to book it as like heel versus heel, which doesn't work, and look at like the gang wars thing between DOA and the Nation and Los Boricuas and all that from back in WWF there in like '97, or if they were just going to commit and say like, okay, they're faces now because MJF's and his group are the dicks and turned on that and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
Jericho gets popped it didn't really matter what to do with Jericho. People were popping for him anyways. So I don't have a problem with Jericho. I like Sammy. Jake Hager's trash in my opinion, and I don't really like Ortiz. Santana's okay, but I felt like when they put them together, it was very random. So, and then because you don't really, me and Joe watch it, they just took a jobber, QT Marshall, and gave him a stable with a bunch of jobbers.
I saw that because
Yeah.
It's the job squad.
I like the Job Squad.
In listening to Cornette's podcast and his reviews of AEW, they pretty much indicated that they felt that they were going to go there. That they had set it up already that they were going to do something like that, and sure enough, they did. So
QT Marshall popped Arn Anderson the other night. He turned around and just knocked him the fuck out.
Bullcocked them.
but I'm sure on Cornette's podcast tomorrow, I'm sure he'll be talking about he'll probably use his and wouldn't you know who won the pony line about the whole QT Marshall thing. So
My only real issue with that is, and I actually read somebody else say this, and I didn't really think about it until I read it. It almost seems like Cody is only comfortable when he's in storylines with people he's friends with. It seems like here's another storyline where he's going to be in it with his friend. So, and MJF was his friend, and Darby, he's been in a lot of storylines with people he's friends with.
Well, that brings up something else interesting that Jim Cornette and his co-host have been talking about. is Cody really over?
You really got to stop listening to Jim Cornette.
We've tried to get him to. He's not listening. So
I find his podcast entertaining because he spends a lot of time talking about historical stuff, which I find interesting to listen to, especially when he talks about stuff that I have no knowledge of. But anyway,
and our fans know that you enjoy your history.
Yes,
Jim Cornette still thinks it's 1988. We've established that. So
he won. I think he. I don't think he thinks it. I think he wants it.
He wants to be 1988.
Yeah, but no, but seriously, he brought up a point where he feels like the audience isn't as into Cody as they are into, like, say, Omega or the Bucks. Or even some other people. And he feels like that, let's say if they were to turn around and tomorrow have Cody beat Omega for the world title, he thinks that it would kind of backfire and people would push back against it and everything.
I will say this.
He just feels like that Cody really, his co-host doesn't think Cody's that good, period. But Cornette just feels like there's some kind of like an underswell against Cody, where he's just not as over as he thinks he is.
When if you would have asked me a year ago, or like when I did, if I would have had my who's the 10 best wrestlers in the world, Cody would have been on that list. He's currently not on that list for me. Other people have supplanted him, so he's dropped a little bit for me because I don't think he's quite Kenny and the Bucks. I don't think he is quite on their level. So, but I don't know why, because it does seem like I don't know. I've lost a little bit. He's lost a little bit with me, at least. So not a ton, but.
Okay. Well, yeah. So again, I'm not taking an opinion on this since I don't watch it. I can't. That's why I'm asking you guys who do watch it if you feel that way at all.
I mean, he gets a reaction from the crowd, but I do think that Kenny and the Bucks are on a little bit higher level than I think Cody is right now and have been for the last 6 months, I would say at least.
I think if Cody does, or when he does get the title, legitimately and the fans kind of don't buy into it, that's your time to turn full-fledged heel.
They've teased it with him, and they didn't do it. They didn't pull the trigger. They teased him turning, and then they didn't pull the trigger. So
yeah, that's what they need to do. But I will say, the most interesting thing I'm waiting to see and hear next weekend is Sunday night. Chris Jericho on the Stone Cold podcast, baby.
I was just about to mention that. I said, how interesting is that?
And Vince okayed it.
Well, that Vince okayed it, that AEW okayed it, and it's going to go on the air WrestleMania weekend.
I know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Night. Yeah, Stone Cold said he texted Vince. Like, Jericho sent him a text message after he watched the Undertaker podcast. He said he loved it. Then he texted him back, and then Jericho called him. They started talking for several hours, and he pitched it to Vince, and Vince said, "Sure, I'm cool." And he's like, I text him again because we know how he is, and me and Vince don't always get along. And Vince gave him the thumbs up. So
yeah,
he brought Jericho on, and they did it. I don't think there's an issue with Tony Khan because I think Jericho has the flexibility to do that shit. And I don't think Khan really cares.
So, Joe, I'd like to go to you before we wrap up our show today and go to you for the NHL since you are our hockey expert on the group.
My team fucking just can't get their shit together.
I think the Flyers have lost like 10 in a row or some shit like that or more.
The hockey team I like, Colorado, is actually pretty good. So
yeah, I think they just actually beat the Blackhawks. I think didn't they beat the Blackhawks? No, that was
we're playing Carolina the last 2 days.
Yeah, it was the Hurricanes. My fault. The Hurricanes.
The Rangers are still rebuilding, but just one quick final thought on the Jericho thing. I just find it interesting that it seems like when on Jericho's podcast, when like the ex-WWE guys who have gone to AEW appear on his podcast, they kind of use it as like a grievance airing session against WWE, which is fine. But it really makes you wonder then if Jericho is going to air any grievances with WWE on a WWE show. So
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he does, and I don't think he gives two flying fucks.
And it would be interesting if he does say anything even slightly negative against his current employer. Like if he feels like, oh well, we could do this better, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Well, he's aired he's made comments about their current product on his podcast and stuff. Nothing crazy, but he's made comments about things they could tweak, change, and some things of that nature, but nothing crazy. Which
me and Joe got our wish, the NXT moving to Tuesday nights. Me and Joe have wanted that for months. So
I find that very interesting. Then that it's like if you're enough of a masochist, because you have to be the way some of these shows are anymore, that it's going to be possible now, assuming you get all the networks,
to watch wrestling every night.
That you can watch wrestling every weeknight now, in a week or two or whenever.
Impact was smart, and they said, "Fuck Tuesdays, we're moving to Thursdays because NXT is going to be on Tuesdays," and they're like, "We don't want none of that."
Well, if what they've stated their reasoning is for moving NXT to Tuesday nights is why they're moving NXT to Tuesday nights, I think that was a good call too, because they're saying
they have to.
Well, this whole ratings thing is kind of silly. Let's get back to focusing on the product.
Both companies are going to benefit from them being on separate nights because everybody can watch both, not have to flip back and forth or watch recorded versions. We can watch one night and one the other night, and I think the ratings are going to be better both nights because the people that want to watch one want to watch the other usually, and now you can watch them both on separate nights.
My hope, even as somebody who doesn't watch their shows, would be it's just that both companies treat it as, all right, let's not be preoccupied with who's beating who in the ratings, this and the other thing. Let's just focus on making our show as good as we possibly can make it, because when the quality is better, the ratings usually follow. I mean, obviously
this is going to help that. So
obviously nothing's ever going to be like the Monday Night Wars again for a number of reasons. But again, just if you're just focusing on making your own show better, that's really, I think, the way to go. Rather than like, oh my god, we beat them by 85,000 viewers.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, they were going to be forced to move off Wednesday nights anyway sooner by October. They had no choice, so they had to figure out which night they were going to move them to.
You mean
Can we move NXT to Monday night so Raw figures out how to put a good show on television?
Well, we all know the first thing for Raw to become a better show. We all know the first thing that they need to do.
Remove an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, Joe, is there anything interesting? As far as the NHL goes, I do see that the trade deadline's April 12th. That's coming up here shortly. So
trade deadline's coming up, and to be honest, I hope they keep this form. I like the divisions the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
I would like them to keep these divisions for the moving forward. But of course, next year, play outside your division. But I like the division lineups and the setups.
I have a feeling though, if things are relatively normal by next fall, they'll go back to normal. So
this just these divisions just make sense. I think the names they give them are kind of funny, but the divisions make sense. I'm fine with like a whole division being all Canadian teams. We have enough teams to do it. I like the.
Yeah, because didn't they make the divisions based on like zone, geographical area?
Yeah. Definitely,
like they did with baseball last year, right? For a little for that shortened season.
Yeah, it was to try to cut down on travel, and also because they were as far as going over the border. That's why they made the division of all Canadian teams, even though they stretch from Montreal and Toronto and Ottawa all the way out to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I don't know. I like the way it's set up. I like the Blackhawks division. They called it the Discovery Central. Weird. Whatever though. Yeah, the Honda West, the Scotia North, and what the fuck is the East called? Mass Mutual East. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they like literally sold naming rights to the divisions this year, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that's a one season only thing because
that would be nice.
I think that would just having all these corporate names all over the the stadiums and the arenas and we're even to the point where
the car dealers,
the
cars in the corners,
seeing all the advertisements on the outfield walls and and like all the places around, like the jumbotrons and shit. And people have already said it's only a number of years before you start seeing like fucking corporate patches on uniforms and shit, and that'll
they are on the NBA. There's logos on the NBA jerseys now. There's one.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll expand. It's like everybody even says, like, you know, like it used to be like on baseball jerseys, you didn't even see like the manufacturer's logo on them. Now you do, but people said it's probably just a matter of time before you start seeing advertisements on the players' uniforms. Like, first time I have to look at somebody wearing a Yankee uniform, and there's like a fucking advertisement on there for a car company or a cell phone company or Gatorade or Nike, or it's going to make me lose my mind. But at the same time, it's like, well, once it happens, it's going to happen. So
here's something interesting with the NHL, and I don't know, Joe, if you were going to mention this or not, but I see that the Penguins and the Sabres are going to be playing on April 17th for the very first Pride game to support and the LGBTQ plus community. Wanted to make sure I got all those in there because that's a fucking long ass acronym.
It's a long ass acronym.
Well, what's the significance about them doing that? I guess I haven't heard that.
It's about celebrating inclusion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're raising money for that, for some charity or something like that.
That's what I mean. It's like, is there some kind of like charitable, something like that involved? Okay.
Yeah, they're raising money for it's for a local LGBTQ plus organization.
I mean, it's weird. The hockey season's almost over. There's like less than 20 games left. I think the second week of May is officially the last week. I know the Blackhawks, I think, have like 18 games left.
Yeah, I don't even remember. How many games are they doing this season?
I believe it was like 56 or 58. I believe it was something like that. Yeah. And each division has a playoff. Each division it's going to come down to the wire for every single division because there's multiple teams, you know, drawing that fine line of one day being in the playoff fourth spot, next day being out of the fourth spot, including my team. If they would have won last night, they'd still be in fourth place. But nope, they're in fifth. Well, they're at a tie.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of how the Rangers are right now. Is like Boston's in fourth place in their division with 41 points, and then the Rangers and the Flyers both have 38. The problem is the Rangers have played one more game than the Flyers and three more games than the Bruins. So, you know, they're going to have a tougher time making it up on those grounds as well. So.
Yeah.
No, did you see? It looks like UConn's going to lose. Their women's team is going to lose.
Oh man,
they were losing by 10 at halftime.
Yeah, they're down by 10 right now.
Here's the thing about that. My friend's wife is a big UConn fan, and I respect UConn. They're like one of the best programs in women's history.
15 years in a row is crazy.
Yeah, they're like the top program in women's college. But to be honest with you, I kind of think it's kind of karma because the refs fucked up that last game. That was a legit foul by both those girls. She should have went to the free throw line, but it is a little karma getting payback for the refs no call bullshit from the previous game, and they're losing this game, and I'm fine with that. I didn't have them winning anyway.
I just stumbled upon this now too because this is super exciting, guys. I can't wait to tell you this. Big E Langston and Apollo Crews are now fighting in a Nigerian drum fight. What the fuck is that?
These gimmick matches.
I don't even want to touch that.
I don't even know.
So
this guy said this match sounds worse than the Punjabi prison match.
I really wish I had something I could use to just start hitting myself with, but I don't really have any.
A Nigerian drum.
So I want to bring it back.
If I had a Nigerian drum, I would start hitting myself.
So I wanted to bring it back to just one more fun fact about hockey that I happened to stumble across here. This is from a couple days ago. This is about the Flyers organization, which the Flyers fucking suck right now. They're terrible. Like they're just losing and losing and losing. But there's a picture that I found on Facebook, and it says it looks like a regular Philadelphia Flyers team picture, but look closely. What do you notice? This picture features the first female president in NHL history. That's pretty awesome. That you're seeing more and more of this throughout sports in general, but the fact that hockey has been such a male dominated sport, like completely male dominated, like there's actually a female in an executive office is pretty cool. So hockey looks like they're doing some pretty cool things and some things that are starting to change within the hockey community in general.
You got the same thing in baseball. The Marlins have the first female general manager now. She's in her first year of the job. She used to work for both the Yankees and the Dodgers. So she comes with she's also Asian American. So she comes with a good background in terms of like the organizations that she's worked with. So I mean, I definitely want her to succeed then, because you just kind of get worried that it's like if she doesn't, then nobody will want to ever hire another female again, which is stupid bullshit, but it's the way these sports teams traditionally think. It's like, oh my God, if we hired this one guy from this school or from this area, or who was an assistant under this guy, and he failed, then we can never hire anybody else who fit those same criteria again. It's dumb, because obviously everybody's the same person. But no,
I know I'm like you, Pat.
But no, that is cool. That is really cool to see that you're starting to see more inclusivity, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Inclusiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
diversity.
I mean, really, what's it going to hurt? If you want everybody, thinking the same way about everything all the time, then
hire robots.
Well, yeah, but it just then you just can't. You also can't expect anything to actually change or anything to to be different from year to year. You're going to get like the same variations of the same shit, and So yeah, I'm all for radical change when it's necessary. Not that I think hiring females is radical change, but in the world of sports, it kind of is.
Yeah. And here at the Four Guys Roundtable Show, we support diversity and inclusion of all people in sports, especially.
Yes.
Throw that out there.
Except when it's in an obviously racist gimmick, like a Nigerian drum match.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to touch that. I don't want to even give that clout to it's not worth it. Not worth it.
Not next weekend.
I honestly want to know who the fuck in the WWE creative team is coming up with that right now, and pitching it, because I think it goes one of two ways. It's either somebody just getting desperate for ideas and just threw it out there, and in his infinite, ever aging wisdom, somebody went and said, "Oh my God, that's such good shit." Or that somebody said, "I know Vince will approve this because of his history," which is worse.
These two guys fought at Fastlane, and Mr. Meltzer gave it 1 star.
Yes.
So
really gave it 1 star?
He gave it 1 star. It was a train wreck, the match. It was a train wreck. I thought it was awful.
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I watched it.
We're going to talk about Apollo Crews when it comes time for that match, and the fact that he is now all of a sudden a Nigerian, and he carries a spear, and he's dressed
he's got a worse accent than Kofi Kingston did.
It screams racism to the 110th degree, and the fact that people are not outraged about this really fucking surprises me. But we're going to leave it at that, and I don't want to harp on it anymore. We can talk more about it when we actually get to see that match. Because we will be live next week twice, not just once, but 2 fucking times for WrestleMania, because it's so big. You got to have 2 nights. Like myself,
wearing the same
so
clothes,
big,
don't mind
it
me.
needs 2 nights.
Okay, that's unnecessary, Jeremy.
We can edit that out. No, we can't.
Well, hey, just remember, you're talking about wearing the same outfits. When they did that Hollywood Backlot brawl between Piper and Goldust at WrestleMania 12, they filmed that about 3 weeks before WrestleMania, and then they obviously couldn't wash their costumes and everything, which had gotten blood on them. So they had to put them back on 3 weeks later for when the match came and ended in the ring. And again, remind you, they'd been covered in blood for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What's the over-under on the Hall of Fame? 5 hours?
I read something, I think, this morning that said speeches are going to be a lot shorter. I can't, if they're not really doing it in front of a live crowd, which it sounds like they're really not doing it in front of a live crowd, it's going to have to be shorter. So unless they create super longer video packages, yeah, this sounds like something that might actually be done in 2 or 3 hours, even if, even if they have actually everybody up there giving a speech. And I don't know if they're going to have I don't know who's going to be up there representing Davey Boy. Are they actually going to have Liger there live in person now? And I know I did see that Kali is coming in, but and come on, we know English is not his first language either, so I'd have to imagine that's going to be a shorter type of speech.
Are you going to watch it, Pat?
I don't even know what night it's on, to be honest.
Tuesday.
What day?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
It's Tuesday and Wednesday, right?
No, just Tuesday.
Oh. Hogan posted a picture of him with all the people in a group.
Yeah, it's just Tuesday because the NXT thing's Wednesday and Thursday. So
if it's just on Tuesday night, then I might actually put it on because I don't really watch anything on.
I'm gonna watch it.
I don't watch it. I don't really watch anything on Tuesday night. So
the Bellas, I may not watch the Bellas. I won't watch the Bellas, but I'll watch everything else other than that.
Lois and Clark is on Tuesday nights. I'll be watching that.
Let me just ask this real quick. Was it necessary for them to turn Edge heel?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
They already had a heel, but they always like to have more than one heel in a match and only have one face. It just
Edge is a heel.
It just seems kind of weird because it seems as if Brian's been acting a little heelish too. So it is at the point now where it's like, well, Drew, who am I supposed to root for in this match?
Edge.
Easy for me to root for somebody in that match, Roman.
All right.
I know Roman's not losing. So
no, I think Edge is going to win. I actually think Edge is going to win. I just don't want Daniel Bryan to win. I don't care who wins as long as he doesn't.
I'll just be very surprised if Edge wins, but if Roman loses. But yeah, I've been wrong before. So
go ahead, Jeremy.
All right.
Sorry.
So we've had a great discussion. We got to talk about our top 15 women. We agreed as much as we could agree on that list. Some changes that not everybody agreed on, but hey, it's still a list, and it's a pretty damn good one. Talked a little bit about football, baseball, basketball, hockey, some wrestling. So we hope that everybody enjoyed it. We enjoyed talking about it, and you're going to see that this is kind of going to be what our show is going to transform into, folks. So we hope that you stick around and hope you enjoy these episodes as much as we are enjoying them. So wherever you're catching this, YouTube, if you're catching it on YouTube, make sure you're giving it a like. Make sure you're setting the notifications. Make sure you're subscribing to our channel. If you're catching it on iTunes podcast, if you're catching it on Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora podcast, or Amazon Music podcast, wherever you are, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And we're going to end it and say good morning, good afternoon, good night, and we'll catch you on the next episode.